Hello and welcome. My name is Jean Creighton, and I'm very pleased to have you with us today. This is the third program of our Under African Skies, and it is my very great pleasure to have the opportunity to chat with Mohamed Maache, who's going to talk to us about his country. I do want to say a couple of things just to get us situated here. Many of you now know about Zoom, how this works, but there is a chat that if you have questions, you may put them in the chat of the YouTube channel, and we will do our best to answer your questions. Before I introduce Mohamed more formally, we are going to transport ourselves to the African continent, away from dark November evenings of Wisconsin or wherever you are, and transport ourselves to the African continent. To do that, of course, I'm going to share my screen with you, and we'll get ready for the ride.
Shake it for Africa, do it for Africa. Oh lele, mama, oh shake it for Africa. Oh you rise up and stand up for Africa.
See the whole world be looking at us, yeah. Cause our land is honey, all the future money. And see now, see Akijima. No, Asilali. See Atsandi Mali, they want it, yo. They need it, man, we have it, yes. Let the world come and taste this beautiful land. They want it, oh, they need it, yeah. We have it, let the world come and taste this beautiful land.
I love my Africa, oh Africa, rise up. I love my Africa, my mother Africa, rise up. We are one Africa, together, in Africa, rise up. I love my Africa, rise up.
I'm so happy to be a part of this continent. All your sisters and your brothers and your friends, let's get together, let's hold hands and let us dance. Let's unite and give ourselves another chance.
So let me introduce Mohamed Maache, who has done several programs now with me at the planetarium, whose family has made many cookies for some of you who are enjoying the program today. Mohamed Maache is a senior in mechanical engineering at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And as I said, he will take us on a tour of his homeland, Algeria. Go ahead, Mohamed.
Thank you, Jean. And I would like, first of all, to thank everyone for coming tonight. And hey, I'm here, so definitely from Africa. And as you see on the map, we cannot talk about Africa if we don't mention Algeria. It's the largest country in the continent with a surface area of 2.3 million kilometers square. And sorry if you use the miles, but this is as big as 14 Wisconsins. So, and as you see on the map too, Algeria is located on the north part of Africa, and we're lucky to have many neighbors. So on the right side, the eastern side, we have Tunisia and Libya. And from the west side, we've got Morocco. And in the south, we have all Niger, Mali, and Mauritania. And I gotta point out that Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco, the culture is so similar that you cannot distinguish the difference of clothing or music, food, etc. So these three countries are so close. In fact, they are called Maghreb, so countries of Maghreb. So the capital city of Algeria is Algiers, and most of the people live by the coast. The desert makes up 80% of the total surface area. And some of you may think such a useless area, 80% of the country. And I would tell you that you'll be surprised that the beauty and the power of the country comes from that 80% useless area. In fact, the UNESCO says that Askram, which is in Al Hoggar in Tamanrast, is considered the most beautiful sunrise and sunset. And we'll show you some pictures of that. But in this region is an open, large museum, a national park that has 15,000 engraving and painting in rocks that goes back as far as 12,000 years.
That's pretty amazing.
And, yes, and here are some pictures of the sunrise and sunset of Hoggar.
That is very pretty.
Yes.
Looks like a painting, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's true.
Let's take a look. Tell us about the flag of Algeria.
So this is the Algerian official flag since 1962, after the independence. And each color represents something in here. So the white represents the peace and stability. The green is for the Islamic religion, and the red color is for the appreciation of the martyr's blood.
As you know, I've been to many Greek festivals and some Cretan weddings, which are really huge, but I've never seen a spread that big. Tell us about this kind of celebration.
Yes, so we Algerians appreciate many occasions that we have throughout the year. And these are just two examples of that we probably appreciate the most. But the left side picture, this takes place in Ramadan. And for those who don't know what Ramadan is a month where Muslims fast for 30 days from dusk to dawn. And especially in the 10 days, people try to get together and feed as many people as they can. They try to commit as many good deeds as they can. But this is not only religion. Like Ramadan is also about the atmosphere that goes on the air, where a lot of people are outside together and only love is exchanged. And on the right side picture, this is a way to celebrate and appreciate the independence that took place in the 5th of July, 1962. And usually it's full of fireworks and activities outside organized, like theater plays, street shows, soccer tournaments. It's just full of activities. Wherever you go, you find an activity that you can participate in.
And this is independence from the French, right?
Yes, for the French colonization, yes.
Back to my very favorite topic, which is food. And you can start, I guess, with what people have in their daily life before we get to something more formal that we have here. What do people have for real?
Yes, so first of all, I would say that it's not only your favorite topic. I think it's a universal language. So to begin with, usually I have to state that Algeria has a huge variety of cultures, from the south to the north, from the east to the west. It just varies between a city and another. So this food doesn't represent all of Algeria, but just a certain part of it. And in a daily basis, for a busy family, a breakfast would be just a mug of milk and a side of it. Some people prefer to eat sweets with it. Some people prefer croissant or bread and butter and jam and so on. But culturally, what we inherited from our parents, that we should have a lot of sweets in the morning with milk, coffee, and tea. So in the picture on the left side, this is usually the table on on occasions, or if we have somebody over that slept over and woke up in the morning. So pretty much the table looks something like this. And this picture was taken here, my house, the last Eid. This was prepared by my sisters and mother. And it's the same case if we have guests by the way, for those who don't know Eid, what Eid is, we talked earlier about Ramadan. So Eid is the next day after the month where we break the fast. And that's the break fast. So if we go back to Ramadan a little bit, we break the fast at sunset. And the table looks like this in pretty much every single family in Algeria, no matter what the income is. Not with the fancy plates or glasses, but with the content. So usually we follow this pattern. We start with something sweet, and that's the case with the heart-shaped plate, which called tajin hlu, and hlu stands for sweet. So that's something sweet. We eat a little bit of it to break the fast, and then next to that, right after, you see that those cigar-shaped and triangle-shaped pieces, those are called burek. Usually they are filled with cheese and grounded beef. And with the shorba, which is soup on the squared shaped plates, these two go together like a husband and wife. So one of them is crunchy and the other one is smooth. They have to be together. And after that, we've got on the lower right, that's the main meal. Usually it's a plate that has like heavy meat and some soup, and that's always served, at least from my side, with something salty. In this case is the savory cupcakes. So sorry to make everybody hungry, but we have to share.
Yeah, there should be a warning: come fed to these programs.
For real.
And let's look at a couple of different types of art. I'm very happy that you're going to talk to us about this painting that takes us to a different era and reminds us that some of the elements that you still see in some buildings come from this time.
Yes, and before I start, I have to share this. There is a common saying we say back home, always after we eat, that if the tummy is full, then the brain has to start singing. So we'll show some art now. And yeah, as you mentioned, so before I start that, I have to give a shout out to the American artist who made this beautiful painting. It's Frederick Arthur Bridgman, and this painting was done between the age of 1872 and 1874. And yeah, I remember when I saw this painting, I just stayed for a long time observing each single detail on the painting, and it just brought so many things together. So I'm sure this saved many things that vanished through time, that do not exist in these days. One of the things that caught my attention is the carpet where the two men playing cards are sitting on. And I remember when I was really young, in an early age, I remember my grandma has one of those, and it was actually made of the camel's skin. And when I saw this, it's like, wow, so people really used them back then. And not only that, but even the design and the architecture of the coffee shop. Sometimes I walk in some really old coffee shops back home, and they look pretty much the same thing, same structure. And yeah, it just brings like a lot of things together.
Well, it captures an atmosphere,
Yes.
which is really good.
Indeed.
I've already joked that I've put this on my list for the holidays. Tell us, please, about the book and the author.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of books, I wanted to bring the first Algerian woman to say that wrote novels in Arabic. Usually people in Algeria has an influence by the French language. So when they write, they always feel more comfortable writing in French. But I appreciate her as an Arabic writer. And she's successful. And she was acknowledged by the Forbes magazine as the most Arabic writer, having exceeded sales over 2.3 millions. So that's quite a number. And she was also observed as 10 most influential women in the Arab world and the leading in literature. Such a career.
We'll talk about other famous people, but we thought it would be fun to first bring a more daily scene from life.
So here I could go a little bit emotional because I really miss home. And when I see neighborhoods and actual life in there, I miss it. But the neighborhoods may vary from the United States here and what the case is in Algeria. But this is one of the working class neighborhoods back home. And growing up in one, I cannot describe, and you cannot imagine how fun it is. First of all, the area is dense, so that tells you a lot. So many kids to play with. And in fact, we used to play soccer a lot, making two teams. That's soccer, wait, we call it football. So if anyone is watching from out of the States, they'll think, what's soccer? This is football, and football is soccer. So one of the two. Anyways, and teams usually require, like in each team, 7, 8 players. So that tells you how many kids were in the area. And it's just like the atmosphere of the neighborhood is just fun. The only time I stay at home is at night when I sleep, or in the middle of the day where it's really, really hot. But in the evening time or in the morning, everybody is in there. Everybody hangs out in the neighborhood. So you see us boys playing outside our games. Girls are playing their games too. Older people playing board games. We got ladies on the balconies or sitting in one apartment. And it's just like happiness is on the air.
I like how you describe that every house was basically your house. And if you needed some water, or you're a little peckish, you would just feel free to go visit a neighbor and ask for something that you needed. That's very
Yes, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, I was talking to Jean earlier, and I told her how it feels like back home when we grew up. So I can go literally in every single house and I get food or drink or like stay, or if my mom goes anywhere, I can stay at our neighbors. But it was like a whole family, a neighborhood. Yeah.
all right. Here's a hero of yours. Tell us about him.
Yes. I'm Algerian, so not surprisingly, I'm a soccer fan. Football to my Algerian people and people not from the US. But so yeah, I admire him for not only me, but a lot of Algerians and people who appreciate soccer. He's the captain of the Algerian soccer team. And with his team, they brought the last African Cup. Yay, I guess. And and also he's a player in Manchester City, one of the really good English teams. And also not only he's a perfect player, but also so his name is Riyad Mahrez. Let me introduce him. And he's a very timid, modest, helping, supporting person. I follow him on social media, and I see how he behaves, and that's not really common in athletes. And I think you would agree with me, Jean.
I certainly would. Yeah. So when we were talking about this, and Mohamed mentioned, and I understand the excitement of bringing the African Cup home, but I said, yeah, but is he okay? Is he a good person? Is he a, a decent human being? So Mohammed reassured me that no, he's a good guy. Like, okay, then that's fine.
Yes.
Another hero of yours.
Yes, Shab Mami. So that was my singer since I was little. I would say like 3-4 years old. I used to sit. My uncle used to own a shop back home, and I would sit with him the whole time. So that was my youngest uncle. Between me and him, probably there are like 10 years or so. It felt like more like a friend. So I think I got the influence from him. He used to put this kind of music, and I picked up Shab Mami to be my favorite. And so I listened to him since back then. I don't think of a week passed and I don't listen to a song at least of his. And I always was impressed. I was always impressed by his voice and his songs. And when I got to the States and I saw that he performed with Sting in the Super Bowl, I was really impressed to see how big is a Super Bowl. So I was impressed even more. So one of his great songs that was performed in the Super Bowl, it's the Desert Rose, and we can listen to part of it.
هذه مدة طويلة وين نحوس سنة وحدة بزويتي وين نحوس سنة وحدة بزويتي وين نحوس سنة وحدة بزويتي
Okay, as you mentioned already, there are many ethnic groups in Algeria. We tried to put the pictures here somewhat geographically. So go ahead and help teach us here a little bit about the groups.
Okay, so we are 43 millions. I don't know, that depends on where you're from. So if you're from a country that has a big population, you may think you guys are a little few, but there are countries that has like 2 or 3 millions, but we're 43 million people. And there is a huge variety. I cannot tell you how many. But these are the main ethnic groups that I would say. And in each ethnic group of these, there are probably like sub-ethnic groups. But I'm gonna start from the left and I go to the right, describing each ethnic group and saying their region or the common region they are from. So from the top left, I'm gonna start right there, and these are Kabyle, and usually stay in the north of Algeria, next to the capital city. There are 3 or 4 provinces where Kabyle people stay, and so they speak Amazighiya, their language, their dialect. It's Amazigh, but they have their own dialect. And I can understand a little bit, probably like few words, but I cannot communicate and I cannot understand the full conversation. And if you go a little bit below that, there is Tuareg. And Tuareg, these people, not only, they don't exist only in Algeria, but also in Niger and Mali. And the fact about these people that they don't have a specific place to stay in. So they are in the desert, deeply in the desert, but they don't stay in a certain area. So they move around the whole time. And fun fact about that, if you know a little bit about German cars, there is Golf Tuareg, and it's named after them. And because these people are strong and they can resist the harsh weather in there and they can move all the time. So I think it represents some of the power and the resistance. And so, yeah, these are Tuareg. If you get across one of those cars, it's named after these people. And next to him to the right, not far from where they live, Sahrawi it comes from Sahra. And so Sahara is, so these people live in the southern part of Algeria. And next to it, to the top right, Shawi, which is my ethnic group. And we're based on the east. So the same thing, like about 4 or 5 provinces where we're concentrated, but you can find us everywhere. And we go back to the Sahara. There is a very beautiful city that I really adore, and it's called Wirgla. And it's the inhabitants of these citizens of Wirgla are called Mzab. So this person is Mzabi, and they tend to be more conservative. So they are only, so the only citizens in that area are them in the city, at least where they live. And also, so everybody else is considered Arabi. But I gotta admit, and I gotta say that if you're walking in Algeria, you cannot distinguish these ethnic groups unless you ask, and they tell you. And it doesn't, it's not an offense or anything. You can ask, feel comfortable to ask where you're from, or you consider. And also from us calling each others by ethnicities, no offense to that. So you can call anybody whatever you want.
And now we have a prompt for a family story, a personal story.
This is the story I'm gonna share. Actually, the picture, I couldn't find pictures from the place where my father was born. I'm gonna share a little bit a story about, I would say, my hero and my number one hero. I'm proud to share today a story about him. And it's a really interesting story that I haven't shared it before with anyone. So probably this is exclusive. The story was told by my grandma, and she told it to me and to my siblings. So the year my father was born, in 1961, Algeria was still colonized by France. And during that time, the French soldiers used to come from time to time to take newborn babies from each house in the villages. And so unfortunately, my father was born in that time of the year. And so my grandma, like any other mom on the world, tried to save her baby. So she woke up early in the day, actually before the day comes, so to take her baby uphill and hide it so the soldiers won't take him. And so as she thought for the solution, she took her baby uphill and she hid him there. And by the end of the day, she brought him back, and safely I guess she succeeded in saving her kid. But the thing about that is, so I'm glad I'm here. So my grandma, my father made it. But the only thing is that until today, we don't know the exact date when my father was born. The only hint we have is that my grandma told him when he was a little bit older that she hid him in the middle of many plants, and she named the plants in Arabic to him, and that makes it to asphodels. And so after research he did, they know that these plants there grow flowers only in spring. So my father's birthday is in spring. That's all we know. We don't have a specific date. We don't have a specific month.
That she hid him in all these plants so that they won't see him.
Correct. Yes.
Wow. That is a beautiful story.
Yeah, I tried to not to go emotional as much as I can, but sorry if I probably lost it a little bit, but.
No, this is a beautiful thing. A family member got saved because someone else thought quick and was ingenious. Yay, yay
Indeed.
for grandma.
Indeed.
We're gonna connect now to stars. And you have a poem here that you will read for us, and maybe you can explain a little bit what it is.
Mhm. So say that Arabs have a really huge influence by astronomy, and they wrote many poems that are related to astronomy. And I looked, I found many of them, but I thought this one would be a good one to share. And I will give a brief a meaning of the two lines, the beautiful two lines that I picked. So in here, the poet is comparing a full moon during a lunar eclipse with a beautiful lady's face, which is tend to be his loved one. And so he's comparing the full moon with her face, but you cannot see the moon during the lunar eclipse. So he's comparing that with the face, but she's hiding it with a veil. So and I found the description and the comparison to be genius, I guess, for that era and time. It's just beautiful. And Jean asked me earlier if I can read it with the language. She thought Arabic is beautiful to be heard. So I'm gonna do your will. So here is in Arabic. نظرت إلى البدر عند الخسوف وقد شين منظره الأزيني كما سفرت صفحة للحبيب فحجبها برقع أدكني.
Thank you.
That's it. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that leads me to many thank yous. We have a couple of questions that we want to ask you, and then the audience will be invited to ask. So first of all, let's say, Mohamed, thank you so much for sharing
very
these
welcome.
wonderful stories and taking us on this tour of your country, of this big and rich country. I also would like to thank Victoria Robison, who's working all the technical backdrop that makes this program possible. Thank, of course, for the support of the College of Letters and Science and the Center for Gravitation, Cosmology, and Astrophysics. And of course, you, our lovely audience, who are here to learn more about African cultures. It is an obvious question, but we'll ask it. What do you miss most about Algeria, Mohamed?
Really hard question, but I think I have the answer. I miss the atmosphere, and you can tell that from my description at any stop I have made in the PowerPoint. And so the atmosphere that I have in my mind and makes me miss it the most is like in the evening time, I just go with my good friends. So we go for a walk, we stop at a tea place, we get some tea and some nuts, and then we'll have the longest walk that you will ever think of. Like, we're young, we're free, we have nothing to do, so we just walk. I will finish school in the morning, and the evening time is mine. So I miss that. I miss just that walking and having nothing to think about. And we drive too. So it would be a walk or a long night drive. So I miss those.
Yeah. And what would be your favorite place to visit?
There's a city next to where I live. It's like 20-25 minutes far. It's called Constantine. And that's my favorite place to go to. And that's probably because I used to go there a lot when I was young, to my family that I have in there. And when I grew up, I had a friend there, so I visit so often.
It really looks like a fairy tale kind of place.
Yes.
And I haven't asked you before, but so I'm running the risk now that you might not know, but this has a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
When were the builders, like, how did this come to be this way? Why would people build such a city on multiple different hills?
Yes, the city is actually called, good catch, it's called the City of Seven Bridges. And there are mainly 7 big bridges that connects sites. And actually this city is built on rocks, as you see. So the whole area is just rocks. So houses and everything is, the city is built on those rocks. So it's like divided into 2 or 3 parts, and the bridges connects those parts. And there are bridges back to the Ottoman Empire and the French colonization. And one of them was actually built just like a few years ago by our government, and it's called the Giant Bridge.
I see.
Yeah.
Very inviting.
Yes.
We're going to get to people's questions that we're going to check out in the box, but I just want, before we go to more questions, and I'll stop sharing so that you can see Mohamed better. I just wanted to say that we have 2 more programs in the series. We do not have a program this coming, like the Friday after Thanksgiving, as we normally would, because we're furloughed. So we have 2 more programs on December 4th, Egypt. In fact, a friend of Mohammed is going to be presenting
Yes, shout out.
in the Egyptian program. And Kenya is going to be, our tour guide for Kenya is going to be Wilkie Star Otieno, who is a faculty member in engineering at UWM, and she will kind of take us on that final tour for this series. Okay. So Mohamed is proud of you. And we have, let's see, Ahmad is feeling homesick. This is amazing. We have lots of wonderful, this is wonderful.
Thank you to
You're a
everyone.
beautiful storyteller, says Justice. And this is great listening on my Friday night. So it would be very nice if we could ask if we could put in that question for Mohamed. I have had the pleasure of knowing now Mohamed for 2 full years, I think now, maybe 2.5, because you've done 2 programs. You've done, we did the Arabian Nights last year.
Mhm.
And before then we had the program on Islam. And it's been wonderful. And the program that we did the first time together was the first time that I counted on an undergraduate student who wasn't one of my staff members to actually come and present. That was really, it opened a new door for me of possibilities. So I very much appreciate that. And I'll just say for the people who don't know, when we had the Arabian Nights, it was 2 presenters, 2 undergraduate students and myself, and we had a program that had multiple pieces, multiple different parts. Mohammed's family, his mother and sisters, made sure that for every single program that we did, there was tea and there was some kind of sweet. So when people were leaving the program, they could take some refreshment, which impressed people greatly, as well they should. And I just want to say how generous Mohamed and his family have been. So we have a question by Stefan. Oh, actually, there's lots. Sorry, hold on, I missed a few. Do you have a favorite Algerian poet? Asks Ahmad.
Algerian favorite poet. Not on top of my head.
Okay, well, you can put that on auto search. Maybe an
I'll-
answer comes to you.
He's on the road, so I'll tell him focus on the road, and I'll tell you. I'll think about it, and I'll come back to you.
Okay. Larry is asking, where is the painting you showed on display?
The painting is actually available online. Where I found it, they sell it online. I can share later the link, but so yeah, if you just write, it's called Coffee Shop, Algeria, and it's sold online. So it's available. I'm pretty sure the original version is somewhere, but I don't think I know where is it. But
Fair
it's
enough.
sold online.
A Google search will help them find where it's located. Actually,
Yeah.
Victoria, I don't know if you can do that for us. Okay, so Stefan asks, do you speak French? Thank you for that tour through Algeria. Do you speak French?
You are very welcome. My pleasure to take everyone for a tour. And I wish I could take you for a real tour one day. But I do speak French. So a modest level. I can understand everything, but it's been so long that I haven't talked or I haven't taken any classes or I haven't dealt with any French speakers. So it will take me a little while to just like get my tongue used to it. But yeah, it's a language that I can write in my resume that I speak.
Yeah. Would you tell us more about the languages spoken in Algeria? Asks Suzanne.
Yes, this is really interesting. Good question. So North Africa usually is the language in there is really complicated. Maybe the world considered as Arabic, and I'll say it is Arabic, but the Arabic in there is mixed with many other languages. So first of all, it's so influenced and biased by the Amazigh language, by the pronunciation. And that's why it's a little bit different than the Arabic that is on probably the East, the Middle East, or in the Gulf countries. So that's for the pronunciation. The words, it got so many words from the Amazigh too, Amazighiya, and it has French, a lot of French in the Arabic language. It's got some Spanish, some Italian, and that goes back in history because it was also colonized by Spain before and by, it was part of the Roman Empire before too.
One of the first things that you said that really made me laugh, and this is again a couple of years ago now, you said that you do speak Arabic, yes, but you have an accent, and other people who speak Arabic would consider you like somebody from Alabama if you lived in Milwaukee. And I thought, okay, I now have a picture of what you.
I remember that was an expression that I used in probably the very first, the first one or the second one. Yeah, it was Arabian Nights actually. And I said that, so us to the other Arabs, we're considered to the Alabama people. So we're the Alabama of the Arab world,
Yeah.
where we can actually understand anybody that speaks Arabic, but they really have a hard time understanding what we say.
There's another question about, is there a tourism industry in Algeria that takes people out into the Sahara Desert?
I think recently they are doing a really good job in the desert and in tourism in general. But yes, there is. They built a huge hotel in the desert that has just the luxury of the desert. It's called the Golden Gazelle. That's how the hotel is called. But tourism always was abandoned because most of the Algerian economy is based on energy and all that stuff. So they don't care about tourism, which I hate about it.
Yeah, well, to follow up on that, because I guess Rosalie is already making her tourist plans, what is the best time of year to see the desert area?
Probably I'm not the best source to say, or I'm not the best at the best position. I visited the desert 2 times in my life, and I would tell you to avoid the summer because those are the 2 times where I went to the desert. Because in the middle of the day, it's just too hot. It's like more than 50 degrees Celsius, which is obviously above 100 Fahrenheit. I would say in probably spring/winter.
Okay. Is there an active French presence in Algeria, asks John. If so, where is it concentrated? Do Algerian people travel often to France?
Can you repeat the beginning of the
Yeah.
question?
So is there an active French presence in Algeria?
Not so many. They come as tourists sometimes. Otherwise, there are huge portion that works in the desert in the south, since it's all energy related, and French companies. So for the people that stayed after the independence, really few, not too many. I remember in my grandma's neighbor was a French lady. So, and I think in the whole city there were like 5 or 6, maybe like 10, the max of 20 people living there. So these are the people who stayed after the independence.
Okay.
Yeah, and he has a second part of the
Yeah, I had
question.
another question. Yeah. So do Algerian people travel often to France? I mean, is there a connection? Do Algerian people, because they speak French, do they go to
Right.
France to study, for example, or just for tourism?
Yes, so the majority, and I would say like more than 90% that people that study abroad from Algeria go to France for the language or from other programs that France has in Algeria. And so for tourism, probably that too. And usually, yeah, the Algerian people are not really good in English in terms of confidence. So they feel more confident speaking French. So that's why you see always the destination to be whether Belgium, France, or Canada, and places where French is spoken. But I think this is changing through time since English is taking over now back home.
Yeah. I'm saying this, although it's in the commentary, the painting is a coffee house, Algeria. We know what the painting is called. We're just wondering where it's housed and which Victorian, which museum. I assume it's a museum piece. Mohamed tells us Kandil. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I started my friendship with Mohamed because of this program. Let's see. Is it easy to go here?
Can I comment on that?
Of course, of course.
So actually, Kandil, so when we did the Arabian Nights, I stopped by and he thanked me for the program and everything. And then we met after in one of the programs that were done by an organization that I'm a part of at UWM. And that's how I got my job at UWM. So big thank to him. He told me about the job and I applied and I got it. So I would thank him.
Okay, oh, that's great. It's lovely to hear that you connected because of Arabian Nights.
Yes.
Okay, so what's a good place for a new traveler to visit in Algeria? Is it easy to go back to your hometown? Oh, these are two questions.
Okay. So first of all, there are many places you can go to, and it's just the beauty. For the first time, I would recommend to go for a trip to Algiers first. You go there, see and what's in Algiers. And then there is a city not far away from it. It's called Bijaya. And that's a Kabyle city that I just talked about earlier. And for me, it's just the most beautiful place in the whole country. It's just beautiful.
Can you spell that for us so that people can look it up?
Yes. So Bijai.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So the question is it easy to go back to your hometown?
For me, from here,
Yeah.
and I would assume it's like this. I haven't visited for since 2016, and I really want to go. And the only problem is the airport in the States when I come back. So it's easy to go back, but it's hard. It's hard. I don't like how I be treated in the customs. So obviously, I'm coming from North Africa, and my name is Mohammed. They have to check more, but I get that. But I just don't enjoy that at the airports,
No.
and that's the only thing that prevents me from going and coming back until I finish my school.
Yeah. We're very sympathetic, and I'm sorry that, yeah, let's just say I'm sorry that that has to be
It's
what
fine.
you
I mean,
want.
I get it. Security has to be a little bit in certain limits.
Yes. Yes. So we've answered the question. He doesn't get to go he doesn't get Krista to go back home very often. In fact, I don't think he's been home since he came for his studies, but we want to make sure that he gets back so he can finish this year his degree. And with
Yes.
any luck, he'll be able to visit us again. But you do
Yes.
have appreciation from Krista.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that brings us close now to the top of the hour. Is there any other burning question that we need to answer? But it does sound like we might have answered most of all the questions. Yeah, very educational and enjoyable. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this is really wonderful. Well, I'd like to give you the Tarek, the presenter for next week. I'm sorry, not next week, 2 weeks from today, says great presentation. So happy to know about your culture. It's interesting
Thank
to
you.
me that neighboring countries may not know as much about each other as you would imagine. So it's nice to, one of the reasons I really like this series is because we get a flavor of different parts of Africa and we realize, oh, really different cultures for a variety of reasons. And that kind of makes it richer and more interesting.
Indeed.
So I'd like to give you the last word, Mohammed, before we say goodnight.
Yes, so I would like to thank everyone and every single one. I wish I have names so I can give you a thank you by name. So thanks for attending, and I wish a safe trip to my friends that attended this beautiful evening on the road. And I would like to wish a fast recovery to everyone who's sick from coronavirus. And so please stay safe and enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. And I'll thank you, Jean, too, for always giving me the pleasure to share my culture.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.